Hi, my name is Kyle Berry, and for my strategic management presentation 2, I decided to focus on Blockbuster. So just a quick agenda. We're going to review Blockbuster's background, the SCMP model, understanding a firm's external environment, a couple lessons learned, as well as the financial impact that resulted in Blockbuster's bankruptcy. And then at the end, I have just a quick video presentation for you. So quick background, Blockbuster was founded in 1985 by Dave Cook. At their peak, they had over 9,000 storefronts globally. Their business model focused primarily on the access to the most popular movie and new movie releases. And in 2013, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So just to start, review of the SCMP model, referring to structure, conduct, and performance. Structure meaning referring to the industry, measuring factors such as the number of competitors, the heterogeneity of products in the industry, the costs of the exit and entry into the industry. So I think one of the key indicators or failures that Blockbuster initially didn't understand was the number of competitors in the industry, as well as the heterogeneity of the products in the industry. So the number of competitors that were emerging initially in the 80s and early 90s would have been like Hollywood Movie and even Redbox coming in the early 2000s. Blockbuster maintained a strategy and did not really differentiate from it aside from maybe the products that they provided. So that was one of the first, I would say, key factors into the demise of Blockbuster. Next, the conduct, just referring to the strategy the firms and industry implement. Again, this is a major miss on Blockbuster's part. So instead of adapting, Blockbuster just decided to remain stagnant and maintained a strategy of somewhat of a product differentiation strategy that really only yielded them short-term benefits and didn't really help them for the future. So such strategy where instead of providing just movies, they started providing television series that they could get their hands on, as well as rental of video games. Again, this kind of yielded them short-term success, but in the end, they weren't able to compete with the more online competitors. Finally, the SCMP model is performance. From a strategic management standpoint, they're really focused on the performance of individual firms. So this kind of segues into the next topic that I wanted to address, which was the external environment analysis. So this kind of focused on 6 main topics. For time's sake, I really focused on the ones that I felt that Blockbuster missed the boat on big time. For starters, the technological change, just a lack of investment into tech advances, with smartphones coming out in the 2000s and customers wanting their content readily available, and not having the inconvenience of having to go out to a brick and mortar location like Blockbuster. Blockbuster missed the boat completely on this, and they had the ability to invest and really drive that part of the industry change, but instead they decided to stay stagnant, and they paid for it. Leading into the next topic, demographic trends. This goes hand in hand with technological change. So originally these stores were meant for families, whereas now it's open to everybody. Basically anyone with a driver's license, you can go there, and even families, older generation, etc. This demographic change, opening up their customer base to a wide variety of customers who all are focused on technology. So you have millennials, you have your other generations that are all wanting the same thing essentially. They want the convenience, they want to have it at their fingertips, and they don't want to pay a lot for it. So again, Blockbuster missed that big time. The next one, real briefly, just the economic climate. So in the recession of 2008, Blockbuster didn't change their pricing strategy whatsoever. They continued renting movies $7 to $10, I believe, for a rental, and charged late fees as well. And with the recession taking place right before their collapse, they didn't really recognize that disposable income was at an all-time low for a large majority of their population, and not reducing your prices or not changing your pricing strategy was just a complete miss on Blockbuster's part, and this could have been a huge turning point for them if they would have just simply addressed it. Number 4, just a lack of external understanding basic elemental threats. From my perspective, the biggest two in this was the threat from new competition. So you have your competitors now who really are leading the industry, providers such as Netflix, Hulu, even the TV companies such as DirecTV, HBO, a lot of these other firms, have now really entered that marketplace and taken over. So they did not account for that. The threat from superior lower cost substitutes, again, the pricing strategy goes back to Blockbuster did not adjust their pricing strategy at any point. If anything, it just grew just based on inflation. That was a huge miss on their part. Companies now providing monthly subscriptions to unlimited content, accessing it from their smartphones with the click of a button, instead of having that inconvenience of having to go out to the brick and mortar store. So huge gap that Blockbuster just completely missed. So just to talk about some of the failures that Blockbuster, missed, the biggest one, needing to adapt and becoming more flexible, better understanding of the industry environment, utilizing this external analysis as well as an internal analysis, identifying their strengths and weaknesses being their price point as well as their inconvenience and content that they provided, which this in turn resulted in financial impacts of just again a lack of understanding from the product price perspective. They did not focus on monthly subscription. They tried to focus on a product differentiation strategy, but they just simply couldn't keep up with what these other companies are able to provide, and at the low cost that they were able to obtain them at. Some other indicators that they could have used from a financial standpoint were just some of the financial measurements that every firm is able to use. So simply put, their cost of goods outweighed their sales. That's just a simple profit margin calculation with your brick and mortar, as well as the deals that they had with the movie industry. I think it was somewhere up of $60 per title they were having to pay to bring a movie in, and they weren't yielding that, as well as all the overhead of the employees that they had to provide or had to hire, as well as the variable costs that go into a brick and mortar location. So they had zero profit by the end of it. Their liabilities simply outweighed their assets, and this all resulted in them filing for Chapter 11 in the time frame of 2011 to 2013. There's now no Blockbuster storefronts at this time. So just some lessons learned that I took from this. The biggest one, as Charles Darwin kind of put, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but one most responsive to change. So again, this kind of goes back to a firm's ability to adapt and be more flexible in an industry. And Blockbuster completely just ignored these demands that their customers were requiring, and due to that, it resulted in them going bankrupt and completely out of the industry in its entirety. And another one, just again focusing on an understanding of the industry environment, just by conducting simple strategies such as understanding your internal strengths and weaknesses, and being able to exploit opportunities, and understanding what threats that could take place and what they could have done to mitigate these threats, or even come up with a better strategy to implement or avoid their demise. Thanks for watching the presentation. If you go to the next slide, I've got just a quick little video about Blockbuster and their demise. Thanks for watching.